Hey, it's Travis. Too many camp directors run just on gut feel. Our free Resilient Camp Blueprint Diagnostic is your dashboard for resilience. Take it today at camp.mba/Travis. Again, that's camp.mba/Travis. Hello, Camp Pros, and welcome to the CampHacker podcast. Today, we are talking about mentoring the next generation of summer camp professionals.
This is CampHacker. Come find our show notes and our blog for camp directors and leaders at camphacker.tv.
This Go Camp Pro podcast is sponsored in part by the American Camp Association, New York and New Jersey, dedicated to preserving, promoting, and enhancing the quality of the summer camp experience. Offering a wide range of professional development, including both in-person and virtual, their events are designed for all youth development professionals. More info can be found at acanyny.org. Welcome to CampHacker, everybody. It's Travis. I am co-owner of Go Camp Pro and founder of the Summer Camp Professionals Group, and excited to be here with you on the show today.
Hi, everybody. My name is Chris Hudson. I am a social worker and one of the directors at Camp Highlight, a sleepaway camp for kids from LGBTQ families, and I'm super psyched to be here today.
And my name is Gabrielle Rail. I'm one of the camp directors of Camp Waro. Camp Waro is an all-girls camp in the Laurentian Mountains of Quebec, Canada, and we focus on creating a positive female community while doing that in English and French.
And my name's Joe Richards. I'm a summer camp professional and currently the executive director for the past 15 years at Pierce Williams Summer Camp and Retreat Facility, which is in Ontario. And I'm also the author of the Camp Counselor Manifesto.
That's right. And if you haven't seen that yet, you should search for it. It's awesome.
It's easy to find.
It is easy to find. Welcome to this episode of CampHacker. We are excited today to talk on episode 134 today about mentoring the next generation of camp pros. What I'd like to start with is asking the panelists. Gab, who was your camp mentor, do you think? Your best camp mentor, not best. Who was your most influential camp mentor? That's a much better way of putting that.
It's too many. I can't choose. I have many. I'm gonna put Jane McCutcheon as somebody that I really looked up to outside of our own organization. Jane worked at Towingo for many, many, many moons, and when I first met her, it was at the International Camping Congress in Toronto in 1994. And she took me in as a volunteer. I was 15 years old. I was the only, I think, volunteer that was a child at the time, but she wanted to give me a space, and I just saw her at work. And I didn't realize that camp people could do something that was so grand like this Congress. There was over 1,000 people from around the world. David Suzuki spoke, Jane Goodall spoke. It just opened my eyes. And but her actions of taking me in, and she had the whole weight of the conference on her shoulders, and she still made time for me during that Congress in Toronto, downtown Sheraton Hotel. It was amazing. And I still call her today for advice on camping.
That's awesome. I love Jane. How about for you, Chris?
It's an interesting question. I came into camping sideways, whereas that I was sort of like, yeah, sure, why not? Why not,
Yeah.
And, at the time, and it's a shame because I don't remember her last name, and it was really pivotal. She was a nurse who worked at a hospital in Philadelphia. Her name is Dale, and she really championed the camp. There was a camp for cancer patients, and she had come to my college to ask the resident assistants to see if anyone wanted to be there. And I was like, she came with a video and she talked about camp. And I was like, why not? I'll do this. I'm 19. I have nothing to do with my time. And so I didn't know that it could be a thing. I just did, like so many people, I didn't know that camping could be a thing. But I remember she was so excited and had such energy for it and was really, a lot of me creating a fantasia for children comes from watching her do it. Cause she went from like super serious, like oncology nurse to like professional clown entertainer, which I was like, I want to do that. When we started Camp Highlight, there were a lot of people who really helped us along the way. Susie, who is the director of ACA New York, New Jersey, was really pivotal in connecting us with people and really bringing us to Tri-State and introducing us to people. And, when we came with Camp Pilot, we didn't know what to do. We were just making it up as we went along. And then it was through one of those connections that I met Jeff Ackerman, who from Camp Echo Lake and the Elmwood Foundation. He's phenomenal. And he's the busiest man on earth, but he took time out to meet with me to talk about developing camp and camp strategy. And I will always be super, super grateful. So definitely the people that I named. But if you're listening to this and you were one of the people that I didn't name, just know that I know the list is long. But I had a real community of people who helped make all of this possible.
And really, it's so much the lesson of being involved in the KIP community. When you find the space, there are always more people to name than you have time for. And I think that's great. How about for you, Joe?
I think starting off when I was a camper, I had a brilliant camp director when I was a first-year staff who never spoke. It seemed like she never spoke, and it was one of the most powerful ways to lead. Joy Houston was her name at the time, and then a counselor, October, that I have a very pivotal memory of. Just to the way we treat kids, that was a mentoring. But then when I got into full-time camping, really the names that sort of stick out, one name is Patty Tom from Timacoon,
Totally.
because she got me involved in the OCA, the Ontario Camps Association stuff, because I was based in Toronto when I was working for both Canadian Adventure Camp. And then Patty was a huge reference and the reason I got him hired at the Taylor Staton camps. And then when you spend 5 years, I was there for 5 years working at a private camp, and Judy Bigger was the office manager, and she was the operations manager, and she taught me a ton of stuff that helped me when I started at Pierce Williams, and was a great mentor during that time. And sitting in on Monday management meetings, as annoying as they were, to be held at 7 p.m. at night when I lived an hour and a half train ride away, was great. So those were, and the same, there's a ton of people who help you on your way. And some with what not to do, and some, so they mentor. Is that reverse mentoring when you watch someone and you're like, oh,
I will never do it that way.
Well, yeah. I don't know how much more we should say about that.
That's a fair point. So I think it's an important topic. As I say, the nice thing about this industry is that there are so many people who are so willing to be that for others. And I think lots of people, like the four of us, choose to pay it forward because people did it for us and stepped up and were so good with their time. So I hope it's a given that you should be mentoring young camp professionals if you care about the future of this industry. That, we all stand here on the shoulders of giants in this particular industry. But I was wondering if we could take one little step back and think, if you are just getting started in year-round summer camp, you have a chance maybe to be a new year-round staff member or to start your own camp like Chris has done. Where would you look for a mentor?
For me, it would be, and this is something that I've told other young professionals, is to connect with your association or a conference and see how you can volunteer. Then you get to see people in action. I did my internship at the OCA when I was at Humber College, and I think Jeff Bradshaw, that was his first time running a conference, and who's the camp director of Winona, and I just saw him doing what he does at camp and how well he was doing that with the conference itself. And those people will open doors for you. They'll invite you into, to be part of idea chambers and innovation and et cetera, et cetera. So reaching out to your association, whether that be writing blogs for the association, being part of the volunteer committee for conferences, even though conferences might look differently than they did 8 months ago. They're still happening, and how you can not only contribute but also learn and have a community of peers and mentors around you. That for me was one of the most fruitful soils was associations and conferences.
I think that's a huge point. I would totally agree, because if you don't get involved, it's easy to think you're alone. And I would look at committees, and that's where Patty really pulled me in, because in Toronto at the time, which would be the late 90s, early 2000s, right, there were a ton of camp fairs. And so you would go and you'd meet this other collection of people, which was another place to see and meet people, but then to get involved in committees and do things from there. So I think that what I would tell people and what I would tell myself is to look at places where camp people are when they're camp people, as opposed to selling their camps all the time, right? Like their conferences are different than someone being a director at their own camp, right? Like I'm different. I go to a conference, you may have heard of it before, called Buckeye for many years. And my staff who go with me often come back and are like, "You're a different person." I was like, "No, I'm the same person. It's just at camp I have responsibilities." And I think you look for those type of places where you can see someone in what we would call their glory, to say, "Oh, that's the way they really are when they're not in charge, and they're nice and they're friendly and they're funny and all of those things." And so looking for mentors is really go to where camp people are, associations, conferences, and volunteer. Just offer to help. People love people who help.
And also, yes to everything. I'm not going to talk as long as Joe said everything that I would have said. And just be really clear what you're trying to do. Like, be very clear about, like, I really want to make a career in camping. I really want to start my own camp. I really want to, do this because, listen, we're camp people and we want to help. This is why we ended up in camping in the first place. And I certainly came across a bunch of people who were like I said, who gave up their time, very busy people who gave their time to sit down and answer the most basic questions and do it with grace and patience, because that's who they are. That's who we are. And I come across people all the time who are like, "Oh, I'd love to start my own camp, but it seems really hard. I don't know where to start." And I'm like, just tell everyone, like, go to camps, call up camps, like, get yourself in front of camp people and say this. Tell them that you want to start a camp and just start taking names and numbers. People will want to help you.
I don't want to just go past that, Chris. I think that's such a good point. Like when you are beginning and you're looking for help, just to summarize and repeat the things that have been said, volunteer is a great way to get to know people. But also, if you have somebody that you're interested in, that you see doing really interesting things, be prepared to go to them with something specific. Like, I want to know how to do this one thing. Can you help me with that? Because there are people people that we've all listed off here today who are very busy people, who are more than willing to get, like, if you give them a little bit of structured something, like, can you help me with this thing? This is where I'm stuck. That gives them a place to get started. And then you build up to, and then that can't build up to a relationship. So I would say, if you're getting started in the industry, and you're looking for some people to help, give them small questions, and don't go to say, "Can you help me start my camp?" or "Can you help me start my career?" Because people will be like, "Whoa, like, I'm not looking to get married here. I'm looking for, to help out somebody and spend half an hour on Zoom and give you some specifics on some really specific things."
Well, in that time that you just mentioned, Travis, is really important to literally say, "Can I have half an hour of your time?" With mentors, to say, "Can I have a 15-minute call?" And at the end of the 15-minute call, like, pay attention and just say, "I've taken 15 minutes of your time. Thank you so much." And if they're like, "Hey, I can stay on and chat for longer," that's fine. But I think that's key for many things, is to put that delimiter on it. I want help with this, as opposed to too general. And that's when when you get emails and people say, well, how would you handle camper behaviors? Well, it depends on the behavior, right? So the more specific we are, the better we can do those things.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Chris. It's good thinking face. I want to hear it.
What am I thinking about? I mean, I can't underscore what the three of you have said enough. I'm 100% aligned with Joe today, like 1000%. These are busy times, right? And so like, I can't tell you. I mean, I sat down with a young woman once who was like, excuse me. I sat down with a young woman once who was like, oh, I want to start a day camp and I'd love to talk to you about it. And I said, sure. And we sat down and she had no plan whatsoever. She wanted me to build a day camp and give it to her. For her. Yeah. And I was like, that's not the way that this works. Like my time is super valuable. I'm already running programs. I think you're great. I think you could do it, but you're not even at start. And so I think if you are listening to this and you're thinking like, hey, I'd love to do something, and I feel like, I don't know how you three feel about this, but I feel like I'm just listening to what we're saying. And it's kind of like a mixed message, right? Like definitely get in front of camp people and tell them that you need help and you want help, but also don't take too much of our time because we're super busy. And I want to clarify that for people who are listening. And I think we can drill down and be a little bit more specific because I don't want people to walk away feeling like, well, I guess I'm on my own, because I'm not quite saying that. Just saying like, you have to be the kind of person who can get to start, who can get to square one, and then we will all jump in and give pieces of our time. But no one can get you to square one. When I've had Camp Highlight as an idea in my head and my cousin reminded me of this, for the past 20 years. And I had a little black notebook, which I still have, and I wrote down ideas, and like I wrote down all the ideas of what I wanted, and I still have the page where I was like, is this a summer camp? And I circled it, and then it took about 8 to 9 years for me to get to start. And then once it was there, it was ready to go. But back then there was no one who could have dragged me forward. So I don't know if that's helpful though. Are we being helpful right now?
I think we're being helpful. I think all of those points it's important to know that in today's day and age, you can go on. So let's call out some people. I have no idea what their names are on the Summer Camp Pros group who literally put zero effort into posts or zero effort into doing a simple research, a simple keyword research into either on the Facebook group or on Google. And those people are the people I'm less likely to want to help, right? If it's a very specific thing that gets me, interested, that's great. We're not saying that we're too busy. We're saying that you should come knowing sort of what you want, and we can help you with that piece of the puzzle, as opposed to creating the frame for the puzzle or the board that the puzzle goes on, right? Like I want to start a camp. Okay, what have you done? Nothing. Great. Then what you have is a dream, like to dream at night, not a dream to like come to reality.
Nothing makes my eyeballs bleed more on Summer Camp Professionals when someone's talking about something and then someone comments, "What's that?" You could have typed that into a Google. Like, listen, get to start, get to start. Then you can join the conversation. Like, you find out there is an entire supercomputer in the sky and deep into mountains that has all the answers that you need. And while the internet is still a thing, use it. Use it.
I think for me, what's difficult is that running camp takes a sense of responsibility. And I think, Chris, when you're saying get to start, for me, it means get to a place of awareness that that responsibility is a key factor. And knowing that this isn't fun and games. And yes, you're impacting people's lives, but I think for me, impacting people's lives, that's something to keep at the forefront, because impact can be positive or negative. It can be harmful or supportive. And maybe we've all had people that have come to us. I know I have in the past, or somebody's about 60 years old. They're close to retirement. They have a lot of money. And they say, I really love what you do at camp. I really want to do the same thing. Can you tell me how you do it? And, they're not at a point of responsibility, of understanding that you're responsible for people. And this particular individual, I said, absolutely. In 5 years after you've worked at a camp, let's have a conversation, because there's an element of understanding. And as you said, Chris, when you're thinking about your camp, you didn't come to camp first, which you can, but you had all the other ingredients of your why and how come and how do you want to bring people in and what's your mission and what are your values. And I will pick up the phone for any camp person during my summer, during my crisis time, and sit down and chat with them for half an hour to an hour if they do have a specific question. And you don't need to come in with specific questions, but you do have to come in with an understanding that camp is serious, and it's serious because we work with people. And I think that's for me is what's important. And Summer Camp Pros, 50% of the questions could be looked up in Pinterest. Pinterest right there in itself has the pictures. I go to Pinterest because it's image based. And the sense of responsibility, I think that's what causes for me anxiety. And that's why I have a hard time reading sometimes some of the posts, is that where is that sense of we're in charge of people. And when we're interacting online, we're also interacting with other people. And, it overwhelms me, frankly, personally. That's my nervous laugh, my nervous giggle.
That's overwhelmed, I feel.
Yes.
But I think that, and this would be one of my pieces of advice to a new camp director, but I would turn it on them. One of the best things I learned to do as a leader, camp leader, but as a leader in any position, is that when someone comes to me to ask me how to solve a problem, I have trained them to not come to me without saying what they've tried. So you don't get in the door without being able to answer, what have you tried? Because I will just spin you around and push it back out again. So I think that that's the same thing. When you're seeking advice, you can go and come and say, here are all the things I've tried. That's like asking questions on summer camp professionals. When you say, I need 15 evening programs that cost $10 a piece, go. At some point, that's really going to make me so mad, I'm just going to ban you for not coming with, here are the 10 things I've tried. Here are the things we love at our camp. I'm looking for some new ideas. Don't demand that I do your work for you. It's the same thing with mentorship. Come with a question, as we've said, but also come with, I've been trying these things and they're not working, but here is what I've tried. So it's the same thing in asking for a mentor, that you come prepared to answer that. But that does move me on, unless you got something, Joe and Chris, you both have good thinky faces on.
I tend to.
All right, I'll move us on just after everybody gets one more round.
Just at the ACA National Conference, the last in-person conference I went to, Dan from Rockmount did a session on mentoring, and I believe he did a session on mentoring for Go Camp Pro as well at some point, Travis. And it is powerful stuff, because mentoring is different than coaching, right? Mentoring is different than the word phrases we need to be careful with. I think the idea is that, yeah, we want you to come ready to learn. You can't just all of a sudden show up and expect to learn unless you want it. And I think that's where because mentoring isn't me telling you exactly what to do. Mentoring is me asking the hard questions about what you have done and what you're going to do, and holding you accountable to those.
I would, damn it, Joe's saying everything that I want to say, but he's just saying it first. Travis, I need you to pick me before going to Joe.
Hey, with my scroll saw, I'm going to cut out 100% thing.
I hear any more about scroll saws. So yeah, everything Joe said. I think about, maybe we should define terms a little bit, like what mentorship is. I think about mentorship the same way I think about like a clinical relationship. Like as a social worker, like I have clinical relationships with people. People come for therapy and services, and we're not friends, even though we're talking about very personal things. Like that's not the nature of the relationship, is that I'm here to help you reflect, and I fully expect that when you show up, you're going to do the work. And with a mentorship, like I think part of it just feels like I'm an empty vessel, fill me with all of your knowledge, please. But it's a little bit more nuanced to that. It's like, well, I'm more experienced as a mentor, and I'm happy to share that. But this relationship isn't just one way. You have to be willing to actually do the work and show me that you are growing and willing to do the work. Because the moment that you stop doing that, like this relationship is over. Doesn't mean we can't be friends, but it means that you're not using me correctly. So, I think it's interesting to, I just want to make that clear, because again, I don't want us to be putting out like a mixed message that like, we are professional people and we really want to help, but we don't, then we listed all like our restrictions. I don't want it to be like that. I just want to be clear that if you are looking to start something or to jump in, is that there's as much work on your side as is on your potential mentor side.
And when it's a positive relationship, and I haven't had personally any negative relationships when I'm mentoring somebody, but for me, there's reasons why mentors do want to share their knowledge and support people that are in the industry. And for me, I think of it simply as, if you're on a summer camp that has docks that you have to put in at the beginning of the summer and take out at the end of the summer, the more people you have lifting at the docks, the lighter it is. I want to mentor people because this is heavy work, and the camp industry, we're not individuals in our own businesses. We are a bunch of people that are trying to move our industry forward, and we're trying to do better. And the more that I can learn on best practices and I can share that with somebody else, the more we're moving our industry and the lighter the load is. And at one point I will be stepping aside, and we need other people to be able to not just be able to carry that dock in and out, but with excitement and enthusiasm and even different ideas. There is excitement when somebody is excited about learning. I love it. I want to share. I want to hear what they're up to. And for people that are listening to the podcast, know that we want to mentor, and coming forward is scary. But there's real benefit in camp people mentoring each other and sharing knowledge. There's a strong benefit for our industry. If your organization is doing well, my organization is doing well, and so on and so forth.
Well, that helps me, Gab, flip it to the other side. So if you are an experienced director, and I don't mean someone who's got 10 or 15 or 30 years in this. I mean, if you've been a camp director 1 year, you've got lessons. You've got things that you can teach. And I would say, and this the purpose of this topic really was to encourage more people to be more mentors, to be mentors more often. And when you have experience, you can share that and people can grow from it. And I also think that everybody should present at conferences, because when you have to do the work to bring all of material around a particular topic together and present it in a logical, clear way, you become better at that thing. It's to your benefit to present on it. It's just like teaching. You learn when you're a better doer when you learn how to teach a thing. So I would want to really encourage people to do that. There are lots of simple, low impact ways to mentor, which can include being the one who has patience with people who are new to summer camp professionals and answering the very basic questions, or teaching them sort of the norms of the group. Like, hey, you can use the search. This topic's been covered an awful lot. That's a nice, easy way to be a mentor to people in the industry. But I also want to encourage people to put themselves out there and do that. Join communities, have discussions, start a podcast, whatever it takes to be the way to, even if you don't feel like you have a lot of experience, working on sharing that little bit of experience with other people will give you more confidence too. It'll be more, it'll be better for you in the long term. So I'm happy to have anybody pick up on any of that thinking if they wish. What I was going to say is, in terms of your experience, the three of you on this call, what would be a piece of advice that you would love to give somebody who asks you when they mentor things? And I've already said mine, which is, don't come to my door if you can't tell me what you've tried, because but I'm curious to know from others, what is the thing that that you would say to somebody who comes to you, big piece of advice, something that changed things for you, Chris?
Thank you for letting me go before Joe, because I feel like he's been sniping me all night, taking all of my talking points, and he's just coming across seeming like he knows everything, and I'm just cleaning up after him. So honestly, I take what we do extremely seriously, probably too seriously, but I don't even know if that's such a thing, because we're talking about people's children. And, you know, part of my job is I teach at Columbia. I work with graduate students in social work. And on the first day of class, I always say the same thing and go around, introduce ourselves, give our pronouns, you know, do like long walks on the beach, whatever. And then I ask each of them, what else would you do if it wasn't social work? And they go around and they say it. And then after I get it, I'd say, okay, well, if that thing pulls you even more than 3%, you need to get up, get your money back, and go do it, because this will take everything from you. This requires your attention. It's an extraordinary responsibility. And it is, because you work with people, as Gab said earlier. We're working with people, and we're working with people's children. So the advice that I give to people, because, you know, we get people all the time, it's like, I love this, I want to do this with my life. And I'm like, you understand that if you want to do this, if you want to put yourself out for children and families as a resource, as someone that they're going to look up to, it's an extraordinary responsibility. It's not something you can turn on and off like a light. So you have to be all in. I'm a little dramatic, but that's what I give to people. You have to be all in. Do you want to do this? This is a lifestyle. It's not a part-time job. It's a lifestyle. Joe, you can go next. Now that you're probably going to say what I just said, but whatever.
I agree with everything Chris just said. And to add to that, part of the thing when we're mentoring people, you sort of need to treat it like they're CITs for camping as a whole, right? Counselors in training. And you need to go back to remembering the real basics of things, because by the time we go through camp as young, idealized 15 and 16-year-olds as CITs, and then as staff, and then we get this opportunity to become a new director. Oftentimes we think that the world is, we need to know something different. When in reality, what we need to know is remember all of the basics, right? Remember that people will make mistakes, but they need mistakes to grow, right? You can't, if you fix everything before they do it, they're never going to learn that they shouldn't do it. It's watching CITs lead an evening program and being like, oh my God, this is so horrible. This is a train wreck, and I'm not going to step in because I'm going to debrief it with them tomorrow during CIT session, and they're going to realize it. And it's also years. So Iskis will love listening to this, but like Matt Hansberger was a camp director with us. I think his first year was 2017. And I had prior to him, I'd had a camp director, Jessica Ika-Tenhor, who had been here for 5 years as camp director, but also for like 10 years as a CIT and a staff. So Ika just knew things that I didn't have to say because she grew up. And the biggest thing the first year with Matt taught me was I need to remember how much people don't know, right? Like, and that's the that's the thing. Even in camp, and that translates to camping as a whole. When somebody comes and asks us questions, we need to remember what we might think is a simple thing, like, hey, having your staff sign birthday cards and sending them out to everybody. That's simple in my mind now, but a new camp director would be like, I can't waste time on that. And you're like, well, it's not right. Like it's just remembering they don't know to take time, right? They don't know to take time for themselves. They don't know that if they keep their office light on until 2 a.m, the other staff will see that and think that they should be doing stuff until 2 a.m, right? You need to lead the way you want other people to be, right? And if you're going to work till 2 a.m, do it in a dark closet where nobody can see the light on, and they think you've gone to bed, right? And take care of yourself. All of those small things. It's important for us to remember what people don't know.
How about you, Gab? What's a major piece of advice for a new camp director?
I think what Joe is talking about with the small things. So if you've gotten to the point where you take it seriously, like Chris was mentioning, that it's not just a job, it's a lifestyle. If you really get that, then you do need to aim for good enough and not perfection. And to understand that your goals and your vision for your organization is really, really important, but those things take time. And to say, if you want your staff when they're 19 or 18 years old to be able to be role models and mentors and give proper feedback for CITs while they're assisting them, that's going to take maybe about 3 or 4 years for you to implement and that become part of your community. And if you're looking at leadership team members that are going to be leading proficient, engaging, information retaining sessions, that's going to probably take you about 5 years to implement that type of training for them and the pass on and et cetera, et cetera. Things take time. And aiming for good enough is what's important, because perfection doesn't exist and you're learning at the same time. And I do remember a summer, I was a leadership team member. Our camp director was ill, and we were all new leadership team members. And we spent, I believe, about 2 days of our leadership team training that was supposed to be meant to prepare for staff training, painting a butterfly, a really massive butterfly, to exhibit the butterfly effect. I look back at that as a nightmarish decision making, that you would spend 48 hours doing that. At the time, we're like, we are brilliant and we're going to connect everything to the butterfly effect. But we hadn't planned getting books for the staff, and we hadn't worked on the schedule, and we hadn't done all of those things. Camp worked out. Camp did work out because it had bones and structure and a camp director that knew what she was doing. And now where we are right now, that would never happen, but things were okay. So as long as you know that we have to take things seriously, you're going to make mistakes. You're going to have some fumbles. Your plans are going to take time, but plan for those things to happen. And before you know it, 10 years will pass by. You'll blink and 10 years will pass by. But those seeds that you planted will grow into fruition. And it's phenomenal to see that. Just plant those seeds and keep at it.
Gabby, you reminded me that it's funny because I was playing with this without even remembering what it was. It sits on my desk. This is a piano tuning key.
Oh, yeah.
So it sticks into the brass piano, the massive brass thing. As a camp professional, I have decommissioned more pianos than I probably should have in my life. Decommissioned by burning or tearing apart. But the first one I did, right, is this idea that as a young camp director, this reminds me that you can do whatever you want, right? If they've left you in charge of camp and you take it seriously enough,
yeah, you
can burn a piano, not in front of kids, you need to be safe. But this was really a lesson about do you have something at a camp you grew up at that is still in the same place it was when you grew up at camp? And then so there was a piano facing the wrong way against a wall. And the first year I directed, I said, we should get rid of that because it's been there for easily 10 years now. Mm-hmm. And they're like, the board's going to notice. I said, I'll pay you all $50 if the board notices by the end of the summer.
Right.
And we took it out with a tractor, with a truck to the burn pile. We burnt it. I saved these and I polished them up, and you can make them. I have one on a necklace, and I gave necklaces to those 4 leadership team members as a reminder that you can do things. The board didn't notice. I didn't pay anybody out. And since then, I've gone on to learn that if you're going to decommission a piano, you should cut the wires before you burn it.
Yes.
Because it can snap.
Very dangerous.
Yeah, good times.
Still learning.
Sounds deadly.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny. My public school music teacher came out the year I was directing camp. And I was a young director, 21, 22. And I had told her that I'd done this like 2 weeks before. And she's like, did you cut the wires before? I said, no. She's like, oh my God, you need to.
Yeah.
And since then, I don't put the whole piano on. I tend to tear it down so that I can save these from other pianos and then just polish them.
Interesting.
So about mentoring,
yes,
I would love a maximum 2-sentence final piece of advice from each of you. I will say that. So I'm not going to limit you to that. You have 60 seconds, not 2 sentences. Another piece of advice that I think is incredibly important is that camp is always brand new for the kid who arrives on the first day.
Yeah.
If we used to say our sessions were basically 6 days long, but many people were at camp for a third of their year. They'd be there for 4 or 5 months. And we would on purpose remind everybody every week, how long is camp? It's 1 week long. And we'd have to just remind people that for some kid, it's going to be brand new. And the same for one staff. Like there are so many things that people are inside jokes, et cetera, but we have to remember that it's brand new for people entering our community, and we have to be intentional about that. And then we have to remember that we're not saving ourselves for 2 weeks from now. If our kids are coming every week, we're not saving ourselves for 2 sessions from now. We're giving it all to these kids. And then we're going to take a break, and then we're going to do it again. And that's certainly something that I think changed our culture in a big way. Gab, one final piece of advice? Mentorship by podcast?
Yeah. If it doesn't fit, get out. I've met so many camp directors or professionals that are in camps that either the owners or boards aren't listening to the vision. They're not allowing for innovation. They're not allowed for allowing changing for time. This might not be the camp for you. I've heard so many young camp professionals who care, who are skilled, who are amazing. I admire them, and they don't want to leave because of the kids. And I'll just tell you this, it is role modeling when you leave. It is an action that you are taking. So if you've these individuals have gone to those camp directors, have spoken to the boards, they've done everything. If you have done everything and it's not working, get out. This is an exhausting business when things are working all in your favor. So put your talents to a place that will appreciate you. And if you need help finding a job, contact us. We will find you a job.
Thank you. Chris?
Following up on that, don't give up. For all the things that Gab said, don't give up. If you do find yourself in a hostile working environment, you're not being listened to, you feel like your skills aren't being used, like Gab said, and then you leave, like that's not a reflection on you. If you have the fire and you want to do it, do it. You can do it. People are doing it every day. People less skilled and less passionate.
Oh my gosh, yes. Yep.
So there's no reason why you can't be successful. And if you can't find the right situation, well then, make your own. It's not easy, but let me tell you, it's really rewarding. So just don't give up. It's out there for you, and don't expect anyone to come along and hand it to you. You have to take it.
How about you, Joe?
I think it's building on both of those things, but it's also knowing as a young camp director what you're hired for. Knowing that to build culture takes years, not a summer. And so if the board has put that on you, or the organization has put that on you to do in one summer, you need to understand that affect positive change where you can. That's always been my mantra when I'm at camps where I don't fully agree with some decisions. As long as they don't affect safety and I can affect positive change, it's important to know why you're hired and clarify that. And early in my camp career, I was hired to fix things. And if you're hired as a fixer, you cannot be concerned about making friends. And I think that there's a variety of young people younger millennials new in camping who want to be friends with everybody or feel they need to treat people a certain way. That's fine. We do, but you also need to understand the why you're there. So if you're a fixer and you have one summer to fix everything that's, you need to understand you're a drop in, do the dirty work, and then leave. And that's one of the hardest lessons for young camping people to know is that especially if you're only a summer director and you're not full time, right? And you have a 6-month contract, and if making friends is what you want to get out of this, you need to make friends at this level with other camp directors, not with a 16-year-old staff member, not with a 20-year-old staff member, even if you're 22, right? Like you can be friends with them. I'm not saying that, but that shouldn't be your primary objective.
Excellent. Thank you all very much.
This Go Camp Pro podcast is brought to you by the American Camp Association, New York and New Jersey, and we're thrilled to tell you about ACA NYNJ's upcoming nonprofit conference, where professionals from nonprofit camps come together at this annual event to share successes, best practices, as well as challenges from their summer camp. Join us as staff discuss common issues and situations that often arise with nonprofit communities while networking with colleagues. And if you haven't been able to attend in the past, this year they are running virtually, so everyone can attend. You can find more info at acanyNJ.org. And just for you, our awesome podcast listeners, ACA NYNJ is offering $10 off to any one of their events using the discount code GoCampPro10. That's GoCampPro10.
So now we'll move on to our tool of the week.
Tool of the week.
So welcome to the Tool of the Week section, where we have asked each of our panelists to bring something to this discussion that makes them a better camp director. I am going to go first this time. I have two things that are empty or blank, as they were. If you are watching this on YouTube, you can see this. If you're listening, I'll describe it as best I can. You can buy from Amazon packs of blank playing cards, and the normal playing card size. They have a matte finish on them, so you can write on them. They come in a pack just like a normal playing card thing. You rip off the little string, and then the cards come out. And they are amazing for doing lots of things. You usually have to write on with markers, like a pen won't necessarily stick to them, but a Sharpie will. But they're nice and sturdy. They've got that good flick that, that makes them useful for lots of things. Building structures, playing games, designing games is really where my brain is at. I have a ton of, I think I bought 10 packs off of Amazon one time because I was mad at how expensive the game called The Game is. Or The Mind, the two versions of the same game. They're incredibly expensive, and they're just 200 cards. So I'm not a good handwriter. Luckily, my wife is. So I said, can you write these numbers on this cards in Sharpie? And now we have a version of the game that we play that's just handwritten. Same things. But it's also great for design. As I say, building things, it's really fun. The other thing that you can buy that you may not know is that you can buy plain white dice. And they are really cool because you can write on them with dry erase and they'll wipe off. You can write on them with permanent marker and they'll stay a little better. They'll come off with nail polish remover or use the permanent marker on itself again, and it'll just re-wet the ink, and then you can wipe it off. But this is just normal standard size dice that you can use for building games, teaching structures, playing all sorts of things with them. These ones in particular I bought because I lead a role-playing game with my buddies and their kids, and I have an overhead map, and I just wanted a nice something that stood out from the map that I could put their names or their initial on top of a dice to be the thing that gets moved around the map. But now I've got 20 of them, and it'll be great for playing games and things. So if you go to camphacker.tv/podcast, this is episode 134. You will see in the show notes the tool of the week and the link to buy any of these things that are purchasable through Amazon, but also links to places when we find them. So I encourage you to go check those out. Gab, what's your tool?
My tool is inspired by a conversation that you and I had earlier today, and you were talking about innovative ways to get the energy going on a Zoom conversation or meeting, and you brought up Miro. And I said, oh my goodness, I know this program. We used this a handful of months ago when camp, when we were in a position of we weren't sure what was going on with camp. If we were running or not. And we had a leadership team meeting. And one of my staff members brought to me Miro as a program. So it's a virtual board where everybody can contribute ideas at the same time, basically virtual sticky notes, if you will. And what was so amazing, and I actually took a video screenshot of it because I thought it was so cool. And so I obviously was not also paying attention to the activity we were supposed to be doing. Anywho, but we were writing up alternative programs that we could do for staff, for our CITs, for campers, for alumni. And all these ideas were being thrown out from every single member on Post-it notes. And what was so cool for me was just watching the symphony of ideas that were happening, and then even the group dynamics on screen. So some of my younger leadership team members were throwing out all these ideas, and my older veteran leadership team members started categorizing these ideas and grabbing the post notes and putting it underneath headers. And it was amazing. And I was just excited to buy it. So you can get a free subscription. You would get one board. You can pay for it, of course, to get more boards, et cetera, et cetera. But if you're having meetings with people and you want to shake things up, I would check out Miro and just play on it for a bit. There's about a maybe 7-minute, 15-minute learning curve, and then you've got it. And you send everybody an invitation, and they can all participate in sharing their ideas.
I love it. Joe, what's your tool?
Tool's boring tool. It's a
scroll saw.
It's a scroll.
It's 7 scroll saws this time, not 5.
It's 10 scroll saws.
W version of the scroll
working in
saw.
concert. Yeah,
If this wasn't a family-friendly podcast, I would tell you all to go and frack off. What my tool this week is Goggles for You, which is cheap online eyeglasses. If you pay more than $50 for a pair of eyeglasses, I've got shocking news. You can get many pairs from Goggles for You for under $10. It takes about 10 days.
But what do they look like? I think that's where my head goes to right away.
I love Joe's clear frame glasses.
Yeah, I have clear frame. Awesome. I recently ordered new black ones that have black and blue, like a sporty. So you don't get to try them on first, but I as I get older, I have challenges seeing really clear distance. I have a really light prescription, but I like to see things in HD. Right? That's the way I like to see it. But then I also like to read my phone occasionally when I'm watching TV, right? And so I have a reading glass. So I bought bifocals, and they're so cheap. I buy a pair to keep upstairs. I buy a pair to keep downstairs, so I don't have to move my glasses around the house. And then because my prescription didn't change, the 2 pairs of clear frames that I've been wearing for the past couple of years, I just took them to the other house. So now they can live there. And these glasses are so cheap that you can just leave them lying around. You can leave them places and be like, oh, I need glasses. Here they are. And so Goggles for You.
Excellent. Check the show notes for that link in particular. Chris, what's your tool?
I'm going to keep this really short because it's a tool that you might already be familiar with, but it's new to me, so I'm super excited about it. So, I've been working at camps for a very long time, and back when I had to make flyers and stuff, it was Print Shop Deluxe. If anyone remembers that awesome program. And it was like a dream. Everyone's like, wow, this is so cool. The kids thought it was so cool at the time. And now looking back, it was like the simplest, most dot matrix sort of stuff you can imagine. Graphic design has come a long way. And just recently, I discovered Canva.com. Now, you probably already know Canva. It's online graphic design software, and you can build banners, signs, flyers, brochures, booklets, and it's really simple. And I want to highlight that because there are so many tools online which would make fabulous things. Would I have the time to devote to study it and get my master's in it? I'm looking at you, Photoshop. And it just doesn't have to be that complicated. So if you know what I'm talking about, you're nodding furiously. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you should be typing furiously and going to canva.com because it will certainly make your life easier.
Yeah, and you can also edit from your phone, which is awesome. You can use Canva right on your phone. So if you have some awesome pics that you want to put on Instagram or even Insta stories, which is amazing. There's so many different, and it's very, very flexible. So.
And as a bonus, not only do you get one knife, you get all these. If you are a nonprofit, Canva has a nonprofit pricing, and you get Teams for free.
There you go.
So it's well worth it. And for people who don't know who aren't comfortable in a design program like Illustrator or like Corel Draw, Canva is simple. But what I have also learned about Canva is you think that it would help people who have no design sense, but people can.
But it does give you some starting points, which is the nice.
People can still make it look really crappy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Excellent. Well, I'm grateful to the three of you for joining me today. Again, if you want to check out our show notes from today, you can go to camphacker.tv/podcast. This is episode 134. And we're so grateful for those of you who are listening. The other thing I will say, just in the interest of time, is if you have follow-up questions, you can always go to camphacker.tv/podcast and find out how to contact Joe or Chris or Gab or myself. And if you have follow-up questions for them. I will also say on the way out the door that if you enjoyed this and got some good ideas, we would be super grateful if you would go to ratethispodcast.com/camp and give us a rating and review there. That spreads the ratings and reviews out across different sites. I want to thank our executive producer and editor, Matt Hansberg, for helping us get this show to you. And also really a huge thank you to the many Camp Pros who listen to these shows and send them on to friends. If you even just take a screenshot of the show when you're listening to it and text it to a friend, that'll help a friend find the show. And there have been many people who've discovered CampHacker through that gracious gift of sending it on. So we're thankful. And other Camp Pros that you would like to be a mentor to would be thankful if you shared this show too. Thanks for the evening, friends.
The CampHacker podcast is brought to you by Beth and Travis Allison, summer camp leadership training and marketing consultants. Thanks for listening. CampHacker, bringing your world into focus.
Hey Camp Pros, we love that our industry is built on sharing. In order to foster that spirit, we hope that whenever you share an idea that you learned from the CampHacker podcast, conference, summer camp professionals group, or wherever else, that you're quick to give credit where credit is due. That way, we can all encourage more Camp Pros to share the tips and tricks that will make camp better.
Hey, it's Travis. Camp directors often tell me they're just too tired to take on anything new. That's exactly why my free Resilient Camp Blueprint Diagnostic exists. It doesn't add work, it shows you progress. Quick, free, repeatable, you'll know if your systems are paying off without the guesswork. Try it today at camp.mba/Travis. That's camp.mba/Travis.